I can't think of a more appropriate speaker to close the symposium than Vice Admiral Jan Tighe, Commander of U.S. Fleet Cyber Command and the 10th Fleet. She has been nominated for new duties with the Navy and as an operator has been central to the evolution of the Navy's cyber responsibilities and information warfare functions. She's a graduate of the Naval Academy, commissioned as an ensign, special duty cryptology in 1984. Previous tours include a staff assignment as the executive assistant to the commander, U.S. Cybercom, commander of the National Security Agency and Central Security Service, Hawaii, U.S. Cyber Command Deputy J3, and in Naval Postgraduate School interim president. Finally, a deputy commander, Fleet Cyber Command 10th Fleet. Now, she assumed her current duties as commander of Fleet Cyber Command 10th Fleet in April 2014. I'm sure you'll enjoy this presentation. Get your questions ready. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Admiral Tighe to the stage.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you, General Wood, for your kind introduction. General Shea, General Lin, fellow cyber warriors and mission partners, it's great to be here with you today and important to be here with you today. I am your lunchtime entertainment to close out the show. I'm thrilled that there's that large piece of chocolate cake on the table. In case you get a little sleepy, just get a charge of chocolate and you'll be great. I did notice a little distraction among some people in the crowd, and I've been looking for it in my own workforce as well. And I'm guessing it has to do with the big weekend for geeks that's in front of us. Game of Thrones, Season 6. All right, we've got some. Starts Sunday, and in case you're wondering why large portions of your workforce are teleworking Monday morning, that would be the reasons. You know, I've been to visit telcos, our traditional network partners, et cetera, and they talk about how they track sporting events for performance of their networks, and they're watching, they know when the big heavy seasons are. Well, in our workforce, we track Star Wars releases, the new season of Vikings, and the Americans. So it's a lot of fun, a little bit different. But seriously, you may have noticed a shift in the language that we're beginning to use in the Department of Defense and military. It sounds a lot less like professional wrestling and a lot more like American Ninja Warriors. Gradually, words like overwhelm, dominate have gone away. And in their place, we're talking about speed, agility, precision, and innovation. The Chief of Naval Operations not too long ago published his campaign design. And in his guidance, he highlights that for the first time in 25 years, the United States is facing a return to great power competition. Specifically, Russia and China have both advanced their military capabilities to act as global powers. And they have a growing arsenal of high-end warfighting capabilities aimed directly and specifically on our vulnerabilities, and are increasingly designed from the ground up to leverage maritime, technological, and information systems, all the things we care about. And it's not just Russia and China who are a threat. There are others pursuing advanced technology, including military technology, that were once the exclusive province of great powers. Ultimately, we must be capable of defeating our adversaries, but it's less likely to be based on tremendous overmatch, as we have been accustomed to in the past. I believe cyber warfare has had a hand in changing our view and the language. I don't think it was a conscious campaign. It certainly didn't change overnight. I think the language simply caught up with what we all knew. The margins of victory are razor thin. But make no mistake, we can accept nothing less than victory every day. because every day we fight to operate and defend our network. Every day we fight to stay ahead of the adversary. Every day we fight knowing if we fail to innovate, if we lose our competitive advantage, we will fail the mission. In my warfighting domain, in our warfighting domain, common misperception is that our technologies are our capabilities. I just don't see it that way. For us, in warfighting, technology is actually the terrain in which we work and the tools that we apply to it. People constitute our capability. And the way we maneuver is through innovation. The old saying, necessity is the motherhood of invention. Well, we say necessity is the motherhood of innovation. The reason we are driving innovation inside of the DoD, inside of the Navy, and at Fleet Cyber Command is fairly straightforward. It's because we have no other choice. Can I get a slide? Who's seen this movie? All right, some number of you. For those of you who haven't seen it, it is very similar to Apollo 13, where NASA and JPL and the crew of astronauts have a difficult life or death situation that they must deal with. And in this case, one of the crew members, Matt Damon, is stranded on Mars with insufficient supplies to last or to survive until he can be rescued. Now, that's not a spoiler. Every Matt Damon movie ever made involves finding him and bringing him home. So I haven't ruined anything for you if you haven't seen it. But neither the crew nor the team on the ground wasted any time wishing that things were different. They didn't give up hope. They innovated. They solved many, many, many problems, one problem at a time, until they created a rescue plan. One of the most critical things that he did was establishing and maintaining communications with his mission partners and those folks that were going to solve the problems necessary to save his life. I think our challenges in cyberspace will be overcome with the same attitude and approach. We operate the Navy network as part of the DoD network as a warfighting platform. The Navy didn't buy this network as a combat system or a warfighting platform, and it doesn't do me any good to wish that they had, or wish that I had a different or better resilient network, because on a daily basis, I have to fight and defend the network that we have today. I suspect that much of what you all have talked about over the last few days is a combination of making more effective products and making more effective networks and capabilities while making them more resilient. Or how we think about it is in reducing the attack surface, reducing that opportunity for adversaries to intrude into our network and risk the missions that we are trying to accomplish. So, can I get another slide? So we think of the attack surface that is presented from every Navy platform and our networks as a surface that expands and contracts pretty routinely on a daily basis. That attack surface expands as we leave vulnerabilities unpatched, as we kick modernization to the right based on constraints in our budgets, as we allow humans to interface with those networks. And many of our vulnerabilities are very human-based in making mistakes, in not knowing the risks that exist in cyberspace, and not knowing the risk to mission that they're exposing our networks to in their behaviors online and on the network. And so we work with mission partners every day. Those mission providers, those mission partners are, of course, across the Navy. They are across the DoD. They are with the rest of the United States government. our allies, and clearly industry that help us solve these very practical problems one at a time and reduce the attack surface. We're in the process of educating both our commanders to be accountable for what vulnerabilities they present as part of their platform. We are educating our users to a higher level of understanding about the threats that face us in cyberspace. We're working on modernizing those unsupported systems that plague us every day, improving patch maintenance, configuration control, doing inspections to ensure compliance, collecting metrics on those same things, simply to reduce our collective risk. And as the operational commander at Fleet Cyber Command, I have a role in that, but it's not the largest role. It's really a matter of working across a team, across the Navy and with our mission partners to make that attack surface as small as possible so that we can do the operation and defense using the folks that we have. Slide. So I use our operational forces, and in conjunction with our DoD partners across the DoD, to operate and defend our networks with a sense of urgency, with a sense of purpose, recognizing that every mission that the Navy takes on around the globe every day is dependent on our networks. And by networks, I refer to both our communications, our IP networks, and our space constellation. And so we use, of course, the layered defense in depth, again, with our partners layering in above us, but inside of the Navy, sensors, analysts, and people to go actively hunt on our networks. And that's why I say that our people are a capability, because even when we talk about the sensors that we have placed in our networks, it is the humans that are generating new signatures and new capabilities and new tools to better protect the network and go after any adversaries that we may detect there. So we started about talking about the change of vocabulary, but it's pretty apparent that that's not all that's changing. Our challenges are many, but we won't waste time. We'll solve this problem. We'll solve this one problem at a time, and with our mission partners. And I consider industry to be among those that are hugely important to accomplishing and solving these problems every day. So thank you for contributing to what we do and to our technologies that arm our analysts and our folks with the right tools and capabilities and delivering on more resilient operational capabilities out there. So with that, I'd like to open it up to your questions and spend more time talking about what you'd like to talk about for the rest of the time we have here. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. The first question, the Navy is undergoing changes in its information warfare design of forces and functions. Could you give us some insights of what's behind these changes and where is the Navy taking the fleet in this area?
Sure. I think we really began this transformation around the 2009 timeframe when the CNO combined the portfolios, the resource portfolios, and the policy decision-making at the OpNav level, at the Echelon 1 level, by combining the portfolios of the 2 and the portfolios of the 6. So intelligence, signals intelligence, HUMINT, combined with communications, networks, data links. We also added some important capabilities that we talk to and refer to in terms of integrated fires. That is, bringing all the information that we have available from our organic sensors inside of the Navy, combining it with national sensor and intelligence information, and being able to deliver warfighting effects through integrated fires to get weapons capabilities and targeting directly to weapons. So that's for the kinetic part of the kill. The other part of the kill, clearly in the Navy, are those that we think about in terms of electromagnetic maneuver warfare and cyber warfare in terms of delivering a non-kinetic capability. So in 2009, we brought those portfolios together. We also brought the people together in terms of aggregating intelligence professionals, information professionals, the cryptologic warfare professionals, and the meteorology, oceanography folks, combined with our space cadre to bring more to the Navy than any of those individual communities or any of those individual capabilities could have previously done. When this CNO came in and began to look at and do his campaign design, I think we are at that point where the importance of cyber warfare, cyber defense, the importance of electromagnetic maneuver warfare, the importance of battle space awareness out and around the globe is critical. And again, you heard me say, we're taking words like dominance out of our vocabulary. So we're transitioning from something that is information dominance, or that was referred to as information dominance, recognizing that that's a state that we could wish for, but we probably are never going to be comfortable that we have achieved, and turned it into simply information warfare. And so we're updating the strategies and the roadmaps that were developed over the course of 2009, 10, and 11 to take information warfare capabilities that we've been creating over that time and even better integrating, leveraging them in with all the other warfare areas across the Navy to be as effective and powerful as necessary. Because, principally because of the recognition that the threats we faced in both the electromagnetic spectrum, let's call it three, electromagnetic spectrum, in space, and across our cyberspace are existential for maritime operations. We cannot accomplish our mission in the maritime domain around the globe without freedom of maneuver in those spaces. So that's how important it is. And this was CNO's intent to double down on the integration and the expansion of information warfare operations across the Navy.
Thank you. Next question. What has been your biggest surprise and biggest challenge as you've built the Navy's cyber force?
Biggest surprise. Boy. I think the biggest surprise for me is the fact that the Department of Defense could go from having an idea about creating a maneuver force, a cyber mission force, in 2012, and I'm talking about the end of 2012, and actually begin to act on that in 2013. We began to build the teams that were conceived of in the fall and up into December of 2012. We began to flow people onto teams around the framework of the cyber mission force. And that started in 2013. That journey continues. We believe that all of the teams across all the services, or almost all of those, will be have their initial operating capability by the end of this fiscal year, and that they'll be fully operationally capable by the end of 2018. And the fact that the Department of Defense could go from an idea to execution in that amount of time is truly remarkable. And we're talking about humans, which is, quite often very hard to readjust our manpower systems, our training systems, and admittedly, this has been a build it while you fly it type of a force. But because the sense of urgency was so great, because of the challenges we're facing in cyberspace as a nation, as a Department of Defense, and the need to begin to really invest in warfighting capabilities that can integrate in with the combatant commanders, that's the dynamic that drove the department to rally around this concept. And we're still evolving the concept. I don't think anybody believes we can go, well, got that done, we built that force. This is going to continue to be a work in progress as we sense and respond to how the environment is changing, how we're integrating in with the COCOMs, how we're defending service networks, COCOM networks, the backbone. That's something I think we all recognize. We don't have the exact perfect solution, and we're going to continue to evolve as a team because it really is a team sport. I think that was the surprise. I can't remember what the other question was.
Biggest challenge?
Challenge. Yeah, I think the challenge is, and we were talking about it at the table, we're doing a pretty good job in terms of bringing in the numbers for the cyber mission force, the number of humans that we're bringing to the teams. What I don't have a sense of is whether or not they're the right humans, whether we've got a way to assess the fact that they're going to be successful in the range of work roles that we have. And we do have quite a few, everything from all-source intelligence to digital network exploitation analysts to some of our defensive work roles. That's a pretty broad range of different kinds of jobs you could have inside the cyber mission force. And I think that means that we have actually a pretty broad range of different types of people, different types of skill, different types of preference and cognitive preferences, if you will, to fit into that. So as we bring those large numbers in, are we getting the right people to the right work roles? Are we using the talent that we're bringing in exactly the right way? Are we training them and getting them on mission and on the most important mission for their particular skill? And that's what we're still working on. We're working on and work with the Air Force on an aptitude test that might help us better understand the folks that are coming in so we can track them so that they can be most successful in the type of work role we're going to put them in.
Thank you. Next question. The Fleet Force Command and NAV I-4 team is strengthening and expanding. What are the plans for the coming year in the naval cyber domain?
So let's see, the question is about Fleet Forces and Information Forces Command. So probably to the joint team, I'll probably need a little bit of explanation. The Navy in all other warfare domains traditionally have what we call type commanders. And type commanders are responsible for example, we have the surface type commander. He's responsible for thinking about the surface fleet, making sure that the surface fleet is ready when they deploy off to be a part of a numbered fleet or a strike group, making sure that we have the right people on board, that they're trained properly, that they're ready to go, sort of taking care of the readiness, generating the readiness for the operational commanders who then go and use that. Have the same thing on the submarine force, have the same thing in the aviation force. And so we created the information TICOM, if you will, under Fleet Forces, which is where all of our TICOMs live, who are focused on generating readiness for Fleet Cyber Command, for the Office of Naval Intelligence, for Navy's Meteorology and Oceanography Command. And also in terms of helping those other TICOMs that are responsible for platforms who have IT equipment, who have SIGINT equipment, who may have meteorologists on board. So it's a subject matter expertise, if you will, that are focused on the readiness and the training and the force generation for the operational commanders. So with that frees me up from worrying about and thinking, every day about, how is recruiting going, or do we have the right people flowing into my right operational commands around the globe? And I think that one of the key elements that they have been working on, and we continue to work, is in terms of the cyber readiness and resiliency of our tactical platforms. Ships floating off of the coast of a lot of places who would like to do them harm or embarrass them or disrupt their mission, and cyberspace would be a great way to do that. So improving their ability to do the patching, to train and understand on the vulnerabilities that are presented there, to understand how, it's not if, but when an adversary gets in, how are we going to fight through that intrusion? Because you can't just take all your networks down when you're in the Persian Gulf or when you're in, the Mediterranean, the Eastern Mediterranean. So continuing to work with that and integrating in all capabilities that the information warfare force has to offer, integrated in with those other warfare areas, is a big task that information forces are taking on there with fleet forces, and we're well suited to take advantage of that responsibility to really move the ball down the road in terms of integrating information warfare.
Thank you. Next question. How does the Navy's top cryptographer and commander of Navy cyber forces feel about the prospect of becoming the Navy's top intelligence officer?
Okay. So some people may not be following all that. We have recently, I have a responsibility separate from being the commander of Fleet Cyber Command as the cryptologic warfare community lead. So I mentioned we have multiple communities making up information warfare, and I am the senior most officer that was formerly cryptologic. When we become flag officers, we actually change our designators, and all of us flow into a single category and compete against each other. Moving forward, we have renamed the naming of the information warfare community. Was a little awkward for the cryptologic community because we had taken on the name information warfare. And so since the whole group was going to become information warfare, we had to find a new name. And our new name is an old name, which is cryptologic. And so we implemented that here in the last 2 or 3 months as the information warfare capability rolled out. And so I am very, very focused on continuing to be the Fleet Cyber Commander and continuing to lead the transition and the transformation of our cryptologic forces as a whole, not just those that are working for me under Fleet Cyber Command. And that's what I'll continue to do until I'm replaced.
Thank you. We have time for one more question, and that question is, what are the next steps to increase capacity and capability in cyberspace fires and effects?
Well, I think we've been very focused, as I said, since 2012 and 2013 on the maneuver forces, the forces that are executing the defense and the offense. I think in terms of capacity and capability, what we recognize now is that the command and control structure that you would need above those execution elements is the investment in that command and control structure, the organization of how those things all work together. That's where we've been really very focused for the last year or so in figuring that out. But as we invested in the cyber mission force, we didn't invest in those things that make an execution force successful, like the command post, the command and control structure, like any of the enabling elements that might be necessary to make it successful. So I think the execution forces are well on their way to being able to deliver on the promise that was the cyber mission force. I think our focus now has to be on how we build the overarching command and control and identify the resources necessary to do a proper command and control of this very large cyber mission force. And so that's what really stands before us. Admiral Rogers is very focused on that and how we build capability at the combatant commanders to deal with cyberspace and how we overall command and control these forces so that it is integrated in with all the other warfighting capabilities that we have. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Admiral. Ladies and gentlemen, Please welcome Lieutenant General Bob Shea, United States Marine Corps retired, President and CEO of AFCEA International, to formally thank the Admiral on behalf of AFCEA and our audience.
Again, Admiral Tighe, thank you very much. You've always been a great partner with us here, and I appreciate the candor, the thoughtfulness, and the refreshing response that you gave to the questions, and the response as well as your comments as well. And so on your behalf, we're going to make a donation to the Fisher House.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're rapidly approaching the end of the wishing hour here, and I just want to offer up some thank you to several people here. And we'd like to thank all our missioner partners for their advice and the councils. We developed the program for this event and put it going forward. In particular, I'd like to thank the DoD CIO's office as well as the Defense Information Systems Agency. General Lynn and your entire team have absolutely been incredible and phenomenal to work with. It's a superb relationship, and it serves as a model for how these events can go forward as we engage in this ethical exchange of information that we continually talk about, that exchange between industry, government, and academia. So again, thank you very much to you and your entire team, as well as the DoD CIO's office as well. We'd also want to thank our sponsors and industry partners for the support for the symposium and for working with AFCEA to provide the best support possible for the DoD and our government customers. In addition, I want to thank CompTIA and GIAC, the certifying organizations which have reviewed our sessions for support of cybersecurity continuing education requirements. We'd also like to thank our preferred providers for their superb cyber instruction. To put this program together, it took an incredible team. And for the most part, you just don't see the people on a day-to-day basis that make it happen, but there's an incredible infrastructure that goes on behind the scenes to bring all this together. There are too many names to mention, and I can't mention all of them, but I'd like to particularly mention, if you would stand up if you're in here, Tammy Goering. Are you here, Tammy? Cindy Wood from AFCEA, and Christy Johnson and Becky D'Amico from DISA for all they've done to make this event successful. And again, I want to thank the entire DISA team again for everything you do on a day-to-day basis. Without the support you provide, the combatant commanders, the services, and the agencies, as well as the partners that you've adopted going forward outside the Department of Defense, we wouldn't enjoy the freedoms that we have. Can we put up that other slide, please? Okay, so AFCEA is proud to put on this event, as I said, and I hope it's clear how dedicated we are to accomplishing our mission to support national security. If you would, please consider becoming a member of AFCEA. There's more than just events that go on. I want to highlight our newest member up here. You saw her this morning. There's no surprise here, so we do have new members, and we're joining them, and we're eager to bring them on board. But we do more than events. It's about the content that we bring to the events, and it's about the committees that we have, as I talked to you early on, whether it's dealing in intelligence, cyber, technical issues, or homeland security, or small business. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. There's a lot of things that are doing, as well as the Education Foundation. And I told you when we started this thing off, our Education Foundation provides across the entire AFCEA enterprise, provides over $2 million in scholarships and STEM grants on an annual basis. So please, if you can find it in your heart to contribute to the Education Foundation or become a member of AFCEA, we welcome you with open arms. And I'll make one other final comment as it regards to AFCEA. If there's something you found about this event that didn't suit your fancy, if there's something you think that needs to be done or could be done better, whatever it may be, please let us know, because we want to consider those suggestions that you may have. This is your association. It's not my association or General Wood or the staff's association. We just happen to be fortunate enough to be the people that are holding the cards at this point in time, trying to bring everyone together. So really, this is your association. If you're not happy with something, please let us know, and we'll do our best to address your comments. And the day's not complete, so please remember, we have two special opportunities as we close down. On the L Street Bridge from 2:30 to 4:30, the Meet the Seniors Forum session will be held. and the DISA Services Executive Course in room 143C from 2:15 to 4:30, which is a high-level overview of the DISA organization, networks, and services, and see the symposium application or website for additional details. So again, you've got an opportunity here as we close out one more time to touch base with the DISA leadership. Please take advantage of it. And again, I want to thank DISA, the DoD, our sponsors, and our exhibitors for all the support that you provide so that we could bring this forum together. And again, any comments you may have, we will take them under fullest consideration and consider joining AFCEA. Thank you for attending. Safe travel to everyone, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you all very much.